So I'm Tony Staubach. I'm the food waste diversion specialist for Hamilton County Resource, and we are talking today about our food recovery equipment grant. On the title slide, you can see we've made notes. The information session is today, May 6th, and our application deadline is Friday, June 26th, 2026 at 5 p.m. I want to thank everyone for joining. This is really great. We're very excited about this funding opportunity, and we're excited that you are interested in applying. With us today, I also have two of my colleagues, Elise and Mary, who will be monitoring the chat in the Q&A. We will get to questions at the end. They'll also offer some technical assistance as things go on if we run into any problems. But hopefully we don't. Hopefully this is a smooth process. So I wanted to provide a quick overview of this funding opportunity. This is a competitive grant fund for food rescue equipment for agencies in Hamilton County, Ohio, to increase the amount of surplus food diverted from the landfill for human consumption. There are several key words in this. It is a competitive grant fund. Unlike other funding opportunities that we have on a regular basis, this is a one-time grant. We have the funds available, and so it will be a highly competitive grant. It is for food rescue agencies operating in Hamilton County. So you need to have significant operations here in Hamilton County to be eligible to apply. It is to increase the amount of surplus food that is diverted from the landfill. So this is looking at materials that would otherwise have gone to the landfill. And we'll get more into how to measure that and what that looks like soon. And again, this is for human consumption, not animal consumption, though we love that kind of activity. And we'll get into why this grant focuses on human consumption soon. And this is not for composting. This is for food for people to eat. Communities, schools, nonprofit organizations, and for-profit businesses engaging in the rescue of surplus food are eligible to apply. Projects must be ready to implement and capable of increasing food rescue capacity within 2 years. We will consider grant proposals that are received on time and complete. That's a pretty common requirement of most grants. And applicants are strongly encouraged only to apply for the funding for ready to implement projects with a maximum request of $200,000. And you must also explain how this funding will divert an additional 250 tons of surplus food from the landfill within 2 years. And so we'll get more into that as we go on. This is just a brief overview. Some key dates that you need to know. The funding was released, or the opportunity for funding was released on April 6th. Today is the information session, which is May 6th. The deadline for submission of questions is May 29th. So as you're watching this, you may have some questions. As you go over the notice of funding opportunity, you may have some questions. We will entertain and publish questions up until May 29th. We'll publish them a couple of days after that. It's a Friday at 5 p.m., so don't expect them to come up right away. They should be up by the next Tuesday or Wednesday. But we'll take questions up until that time. Application deadline is June 26th at 5 p.m. We will have a committee of folks who will review the proposals. There is a rubric which the committee will use to review the proposals in the notice of funding opportunity. You can look at that rubric and tailor your application based on that rubric. So that will be done in July. Our Hamilton County Solid Waste Policy Committee will need to review any funding recommendations on Wednesday, August 19th. And then you will receive a notification of funding selection or information on why you weren't selected by late August, with an anticipated contract start date of October 2026. And that's kind of the key dates. Some background on why we decided to focus on rescuing surplus food for people, just in case some of you are curious or you don't understand why this is a priority area for Hamilton County Resource. We are the Recycling and Solid Waste Management District. Organics have been identified as a priority waste stream, including surplus food. There's 138,000 tons of wasted food landfilled in Hamilton County annually. The research we've collected shows that 17,600 tons of surplus food are recovered by organizations in Hamilton County. but we really want to make sure we continue to increase the amount of food that is recovered for human consumption. We know that there are about 45 million meals available in the food that is currently thrown away. And so we want to get that material, get it to places where it can be transformed into, ready to eat consumer goods, where it can be distributed to food pantries, and where our food recovery partners can continue to provide that service to our community. We follow the EPA's food waste scale when we make funding decisions or when we make priority decisions for our solid waste plan. The EPA's food waste scale, if you're unfamiliar with it, starts with the do's and goes to the avoid. So we want to prevent wasted food through consumer education. We provide campaigns around that. And then we really want to prioritize donation and upcycling. And that's really where this grant sits. We want to make sure that we are funding the opportunities that increase the amount of food that was going to the landfill and getting it to people who need it. The food waste scale moves into feeding animals, composting, anaerobic digestion, land application, and then finally down the drain or to a landfill. We have prioritized the donation upcycling piece of the food waste scale for this particular funding opportunity. The goal of this funding is to increase the amount of surplus food rescued in Hamilton County, Ohio, to feed people and ensure that food is distributed to individuals or communities facing barriers to accessing food. Some of the examples of equipment that we will fund through this grant come from the following activities. So rescuing surplus food for human consumption, distributing surplus donated food for human consumption, and transforming or upcycling rescued food into consumer-ready food products for human consumption. We're really hitting on human consumption here. We want this food to get to people first. So some examples of that equipment include commercial kitchen infrastructure and installation. So refrigerators, freezers, ovens, stoves, ranges, tilt skillets, blast chillers, vent hoods, shelving, but also the transportation infrastructure, including installation and setup. So refrigerated trucks, vans or trucks designed for food collection and redistribution, forklifts, pallet jacks, dock ramps, iPads or computers or similar equipment for inventory management. This is not an exhaustive list. These are just high-level examples that we have put into our notice of funding opportunity to help you create a case for what you would like to apply for. These are the things that we're looking at. Again, not an exhaustive list. Feel free to ask questions and figure out what fits your needs to make sure that this food that is already going to the landfill could be recovered, transformed, and rescued, and make sure that it gets to people who need it. The scope of the work. So we have about $200,000 per request available. There is a 25% match required. For nonprofits and government agencies, that match can be in kind. We are offering awards up to $200,000. We have $1 million in funding available for this grant. We are not intending to fund partial projects, so we will move forward with the intent to fund projects as they are written. So please, again, only apply for ready to implement projects and only apply for what you need up to $200,000. The grant period, it will be administered through a 5-year contract with a 2-year implementation phase. So if you signed a contract in October of 2026, you would have 2 years to spend the funds, get the program in place, and collect those 250 tons of food that would have otherwise have gone to the landfill. There is a 5-year contract with this grant that includes a payback period if you were to stop using the equipment, if your nonprofit, your for-profit, your agency were to stop offering those services. But most of you are really into this and are committed, so I'm sure that this makes a lot of sense. We are not allowing pre-award costs. I've received a couple of questions about this already. We cannot have any costs that predate a contract signature date. So we are not allowing pre-award costs for this grant. And then people have asked a little bit about how do you estimate the food waste that was recovered. And so you can use a number of different methods to calculate what is wasted food and how did you get that number? You can use historic data from similar programs. So if you're a food recovery partner who is going to facilities and rescuing food, and there are partner agencies across the country who have done this work, and they use a particular method that has been shown to be successful, you can use that method to collect data. You can look at donor volume commitments. So volume to weight is also an option with industry averages. So there are a variety of different ways you can estimate wasted food. We're open to additional conversations around what works best for you. You can use these funds to apply for scales so that you can better weigh food when it comes in. But we do need to know how you are weighing the food or how you're estimating the weight so that we can get an accurate understanding of the waste that was diverted from the landfill. Eligible applicants for this grant, again, community schools, nonprofit organizations, for-profit businesses engaging in the rescue of surplus food are eligible to apply. If you are a nonprofit that goes around and collects wasted food and turns it into edible meals, you're good. If you are a for-profit business that operates a retail outfit and need to figure out how to better rescue that food and get it into the hands of people who need it most through a nonprofit partner, that's great. We're open to those conversations. Our goal is to make sure this food is rescued and it gets to the people who need it the most in our communities. All grant activity must reduce waste in Hamilton County and resources boundaries. Our boundaries consist of all of Hamilton County, portions of the city of Sharonville and Butler County, portions of the city of Loveland and Butler and Warren and Claremont counties, which that should actually just say Warren and Claremont counties. But we do exclude the little bit of Milford that is in Hamilton County. Applicants must also have 2 contact people provided per proposal, and both of those contact people must be over the age of 18. That is so if someone leaves your organization, if someone is unavailable for a period of time, we still have a point of contact to get in touch with someone should we have questions, should reports not get filed correctly, if an email doesn't come through and we're just confused, we want to make sure we've got enough people to reach out to. Grant request matching funds. Again, there is a minimum 25% match that is required for this. If you are a nonprofit or a government agency, in-kind services can be considered toward the match. Those include promotional advertisement in newsletters, websites, and employer volunteer labor, which we give some understanding of the value of that labor in this NOFO as well. So for an unskilled volunteer, the maximum allowed is $34.79 per hour. You can use that number for your unskilled volunteer positions. Grant administration, we expect you to administer the grants, to keep accurate documentation of what is spent, and to reach out to us should you have questions or need to make any changes to your original application. All matching funds must be available and must not need additional fundraising. So these need to be shovel-ready projects. If you are applying for the grant, we expect that you have enough money to complete the project. We are not using this grant fund as seed money to a larger fundraising effort. Again, if you're going to apply for the things that you can pay for with this grant fund. All grants and matching funds must be utilized. If you're applying for $150,000, if you're applying for $200,000, we expect you to use the full amount. And grant funds cannot replace existing program funding. So we don't want these funds to replace in the funding stream you already have. So think of these funds as a way to enhance, grow, sustain, but should not replace existing funds. Applications, they must increase rescued surplus food within resources geographic boundaries. So we want to make sure, again, that we are increasing the amount of rescued food and getting it to the people who need it the most in our community. Applicants will need to provide a letter of support from the governing body, the community, the organization, the business that is applying for the funds. So if you're a nonprofit and you have a parent agency, that parent agency needs to make sure they're applying. If you are a government agency, we need to see a letter of support from, your elected or your representative body. Applicants must provide a description and letters of cooperation from any key partners. And this gets into a question that I will answer later, but if you are partnering with someone on a grant or you have a partner on your grant, we would like to see those letters of support as well. We definitely are encouraging partnership in this funding opportunity. So any of your partners that you would like to submit letters, any key partners should have a letter submitted so that we understand that they know that they're a part of this opportunity. If awarded a grant, grantees must recognize resource in any publication, social media, signage, equipment, incorporate our logo. That's pretty, boilerplate standard practice stuff. You'll also notice that, and if I can make my cursor do it, I don't know if I can. I've highlighted in blue here. This is a screenshot of our Hamilton County Resource website. If you're wondering where to go to find the grant, you can go to hamiltoncountyresource.org. You can swipe over home, you can swipe over communities. You'll see the grants tab. You'll click on that, and the grant is the grant application that's available there. Ineligible costs, it's important that we talk about these things. Obviously, we're not covering entertainment expenses, no food, no drink. Obviously, these agencies that we're working with for this grant are going to be rescuing food to get it out to people, but we are not covering entertainment expenses, so no food or drink for entertainment purposes. Personnel costs, we are not covering salaries or stipends with these funds. Collection services, this grant is about food rescue, so we're not covering waste hauling or compost collection with this fund. We are not covering garbage receptacles or any disposable packaging. So with these grant funds, we are not funding compostable packaging, but if you wanted to implement part of a reuse program, that would be within the limits of what we would entertain for these funds, but no disposable packaging. Measurement and reporting. Again, we've talked a little bit about how you might measure wasted food, but for purposes of this grant, there are 3 reports that are required. There will be a 1-year, a 2-year, and a 3-year report. Grantees must submit the amount of waste that was diverted, the number of people reached, and a summary of the project activity in grant and match funded expenses. And in years 1 and 2, that will include proof of payment. So the first year and the second year, you will be spending your money. The 3rd year, we would just like to know how much was diverted, the people reached, and any grant activities. Theoretically, by that time, you'll be done spending your money. So every year, you'll submit a grant report. We will send you a template for that if you are selected for funding. It's a pretty seamless process. We would reach out with any particular questions, but we do need to know the waste diverted, the people reached, the projects that were completed as part of the grant. And then again, for those first 2 years, we need proof of payment for any encumbered expenses. I wanted to throw this out there again, our key dates. We have our notice of funding opportunity, our info session. Those have been, good job. And then our deadline for submitting questions, again, is May 29th at 5 p.m. So you are welcome to put questions into the Q&A in here or into the chat. Again, my colleagues Mary and Elise are reviewing that. But if you have questions after this, if you're watching the recording of this, you can submit questions up until May 29th. The application deadline will be June 26th, and then we'll have a committee reviewing the proposals in July. Our solid waste policy committee will get eyes on these on August 19th, and then ideally we'll have a notification of funding and then an anticipated contract start date of October 2026. I wanted to make sure I put this up here. Again, this is just a screenshot of our website where you can find the food rescue equipment grant information and the application button down here in green. This, again, you go to hamiltoncountyresource.org. You can swipe over the word home. You can swipe over the word communities. In most of these tabs, you're going to find the option to click on grants, and it will take you directly to this page. And I want to say thank you. I'm so excited that all of you were able to hop on here today. I am going to go through the questions here in just a moment. Mary and Elise will share those with me. But I wanted to say thank you. And if you're watching this and you have questions in the future, you are welcome to email questions directly to me. I will get you answers as soon as possible. Generally within 24 business hours, But my email is tony.staubach@hamiltoncountyohio.gov. And yeah, I think that's the presentation. And so Mary and Elise, I'm going to go back to the key dates just because I feel like those are worth keeping up. Do we have any questions in the chat or the Q&A?
We do not at this time. So people are welcome to put them in the Q&A, or I believe Elise can also unmute anyone if you want to ask your question out loud as well.
That's correct.
It looks, Elise, like Robin has her hand raised.
Yes, I'm wondering if you ask for less than the $200,000, say $15,000 or $20,000, how much food are you expected to rescue proportional to that amount? It still wouldn't be the 250 tons, would it?
That is a great question, and one that I had meant to touch on in this. If you are requested, no, if the $200,000 is specific to the 250 tons, we don't have an exact equation about if you only ask for 20,000, are you only expected to do 25 tons? But that would be the general understanding is it's proportional. If you're asking for $20,000 instead of $200,000 and you're saying $20,000 will help us divert 25 tons, that would make sense. There's not a hard equation with that, but keeping it proportional is what we're expecting. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
I will also say if you're interested in funding projects that are less than $15,000 or less, Hamilton County Resource, we offer an additional funding opportunity. It's a rolling grant fund. It's our Waste Reduction Innovation Grant Program. And so if you have funding or have a request that's under $15,000, we would encourage you to look at those funds. That is for those smaller projects that maybe are a little more innovative for your particular organization. So yes, if you have a $15,000 project or less, you can look at the Waste Reduction Innovation Fund, which is also on our grants program page. And that funding is a rolling fund. We accept applications until funding is exhausted, and we've historically offered that grant every year. So it should be available again in the future.
Okay, Tony, then we have a question. Is the rescued amount in addition to what we are currently rescuing, or are they combinable?
That is a great question. I see Julie put that in there. The amount rescued would be in addition to what you're currently rescuing. So we want to see an increase of 250 tons for $200,000 over 2 years. So this would be attracting new donors, helping scale up donors. This would be making your systems more efficient, helping you better manage resources when they come in. Part of what we've seen or part of what we've heard is a problem with increasing donations is the need for more equipment, more infrastructure, more space. These funds would be used for those types of activities. If you are an agency that is receiving donations that are not ready to go out and you need to upcycle and transform food, like those are options. But yes, it would need to be in addition, not what you're currently rescuing. Well, great. Well, I do want to thank everyone for attending this webinar today about our Food Rescue Equipment Grant Program. Again, this is the first time we're really offering funds in this particular way for this particular project. So we're very excited that we have people who are interested in applying. If you have questions after you've watched this, feel free to email me. Again, my email is tony.staubach@hamiltoncountyohio.gov.